After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, we discuss the party corps band from Shreveport, Louisiana, known as Iwrestledabearonce. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @IsSurvivedByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow @IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with an avid listener of the History of the Corps podcast, my good friend, Erik. What's up, Erik?
Life
Life
is so up right now.
Another day in the life, right?
Absolutely.
Lovely days, dreaming away, so on and so forth. Erik, you got us, got a little band you want to talk about here?
Yeah, let's introduce you to a little band I saw with Norma Jean called Salt Creek.
Salt Creek. This is Erik's band spotlight of this episode. Salt Creek. Tell us a little bit about Salt Creek, Erik.
So they are still a little bitty guy right now. They got a really cool sound. I would say they're alt rock with like Midwestern leanings. Wouldn't necessarily call them Southern because they're not from the South.
Okay.
But like that Midwestern kind of hometown cooking kind of feeling.
Okay.
I wouldn't exactly call them blue collar, not like Once Nothing. I know that's our litmus test. But the lead singer did have a mullet, and he had a set of coveralls on.
Nice.
So pretty hard-working looking individual.
Okay.
They are from Lincoln, Nebraska. So
very nice. Okay.
Midwesty.
Yeah.
They actually their name comes from a local waterway somewhere around their hometown.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So they actually pulled that from their hometown. Kind of like we used to have a band around here in Tulsa called, was it Left on Harvard?
Yeah.
And, you think, oh, man, I'm going to go down there and go left on Harvard. If you're from the Tulsa area, you say, hey, I'm going down to the Salt Creek if you're from Lincoln, Nebraska, I guess.
Feels really inspired rather than, I don't know, I just went onto a song or a band name generator website and it gave me bat doo-doo. I don't know. Whatever.
Bat guano on fire!
Back one on fire. Butterflies.
With butterflies. That's about how those generators usually went.
Yeah, they never go good.
So they started up in about 2017, currently comprised of 4 whole members. They are on a label. It's this little label we like to talk about an awful lot.
Oh, boy.
Called Tooth and Nail.
Oh, Tooth and Nail.
So far they've got one whole full-length album. Came out in 2021. It's called Out of the Sky. So since they only got their one so far, it's well worth a listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a long album by any stretch. It's got some bright spots in it. For me, you got...
Whoa, look out. He's getting emotional. No.
It's so good. It's emotional.
It's so good.
So we've got Thorn in My Side, and there's an acoustic called Songbird.
Oh, okay.
And I really quite like that one.
Nice.
That made it onto my acoustic playlist pretty quickly.
Where in the album is that acoustic track?
It's closer to the end, I believe.
Okay, so it's not the last song.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But that song really shows off his vocal range.
Okay.
It shows off kind of how much and how well he can do that.
Can he go pretty high?
He's got a pretty good range, and it's really pretty clean.
Really?
It's not like choppy and breaky, like I'm going from here to falsetto.
Okay.
So it's pretty clean feeling all the way through.
Nice.
If you can't see, because we're audio only right now, I'm swinging my arms all around.
Like a monkey, man.
It's fantastic. It's an explosion of floppy passion.
Right.
So, give you a few lyrics here from Thorn in My Side.
Yes.
Lock my soul in a safe and throw it all away. Block my happiness in just like the way they wanted. Don't act surprised if I'm not what you remember. If you loved who I was, then I hope you took a picture, because I'm circling the drain.
Nice. Cool, man.
And then I got one from Songbird. Like I said, I really like Songbird. That's a really good song.
Is that the acoustic one
Yes.
you said? Okay.
And even though you're gone, I will carry you inside my heart. In my heart. Life is moving on. Even though the changes I don't want.
Nice.
So I will say, don't expect this to be a super raw first album like a lot that we talk about on the podcast. They got a really well put together, pretty polished kind of sound.
Good production, yeah.
Really good production, in my opinion.
Do you know who produced their first album?
Actually, I don't. I was going to look that up, and I had forgotten to do such.
That's fine, yeah.
But it does lack screams or growls right now.
That was my
the harsher
question.
end of things.
Do they have some, like, is it just straight up singing, or is there, like, kind of, like, some moments where he kind of gets, like, a little emotional with the vocal, you know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, mostly it's
like,
pretty...
starting to kind of push towards a little bit of a scream, but not really a scream.
I think his voice, it gets a little gravelly at times.
Okay, yeah.
Not quite
That's
towards a scream.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw them live, I was trying to remember the song. I think it's Lock the Doors.
Okay.
And he added a little scream right there at the end. So it's something he's capable of doing. And looking forward to future tracks, maybe they'll incorporate that.
Okay.
I'd be all about it if he did.
Yeah.
But like the last line or two, it says something like, free my soul, everyone, time to wake up. And he screamed that part right there, if my memory serves correctly. And that was pretty cool. Again, kind of opening band for the whole night. We were all pretty hyped. Anyway, long term, I really hope that they do add more harsher vocals. But who knows? Time will tell.
How was their live performance?
They did really well live. As an opener, a lot of times it can be a dead fish. You know, we're just flopping around. We're not really interacting with the crowd really well. These guys did really good.
Because they were the very first band, right?
They were the first band up there.
Is there a lot of people watching them at that point, or was it a lot of people still just trying to come in?
I mean, we were pretty packed in at that point.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, Norma Jean, O Sleeper, Aaron Gillespie. We were pretty packed that night anyway.
Okay. Cool, man. That is Salt Creek.
It is Salt Creek. Give them a listen.
And you said Out of the Sky is their full length, right? How many EPs do they have, or do they have any EPs?
Most of their EPs look like they made it onto the album as a whole.
Woof.
So,
somebody gave them a 1 star on Amazon.
that's because they don't have anything called taste or tact.
Ah, that's interesting. They didn't leave any notes, though. They just said 1 out of 5. Huh.
You know that's trustworthy.
Yeah, come on, people. Really.
But yeah, really cool guys. Really good to listen to. Live, they sounded just as good as they do on the record. So,
man, I wish I could figure out who did the production on this album, because that's stuff that like interests me, you know, personally.
Right, kind of a musical nerd a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, a lot of times too, some of these record labels use a lot of the same producers.
So being Tooth and Nail, it could be somebody we've talked about several
right,
times.
Yeah. Well, the first name that always comes to my mind is, I always wonder about Matt Goldman, because he's done a lot of stuff from like Tooth and Nail and Solid State. Not, you know, them only, but, you know, it just kind of makes me wonder sometimes.
Oh, he's done some stuff from No Names all the way up to.
Right, exactly. So. And his genres are, you know, from one end to the other. I mean, he's got a good range, but I'll have to figure that out later on. Cool. Salt Creek is Erik's band in the spotlight this episode.
They're shining like a diamond.
Now for my spotlight. The Bears. The Bears. I wrestled a bear once.
Bears.
The Bears. Yep. Today, Erik, we're going to be discussing, talking about the band known as I Wrestled a Bear Once. Sometimes I like to say I wrestled da bear once. Sometimes I like to say Iwabo, and I know you like to say that too. So you'll hear us say Iwabo a lot in this episode. So don't be worrying like, what Iwabo? What the heck is that? Why is he talking about woboing? What is woboing? Why does he wobbo? No. Iwabo stands for I wrestled a bear once. Now you know.
It's also a party word because we're listening to Pottycore.
There you go. The Pottycore. All right, Erik, as usual, I'll give you the 2 introduction questions here that we always start off with. How were you introduced to the band I Wrestled a Bear Once?
I can remember hearing them back in probably 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. I gave them a very short glance, and I made my way on down the road.
What was your first thought? Not good, huh?
I didn't like it. Wasn't a fan. At the time, it was a lot of
2011.
stuff going on.
Yeah.
It didn't click with me back then. I mean, neither did Norma Jean.
Right.
But
2011, that had to be when her name's right in front of me, isn't it?
Courtney?
It's got to be. Yeah, Courtney. I was thinking that was around her. Because I think 2013 is when their final release came out. And I think
so. So that would have been probably
around,
Late for Nothing.
Yeah, Late for Nothing. So her debut or whatever. Cool.
If my friend, whoever showed me, was kind, and then, I don't know. It very well could have been some of the early stuff, like early stuff.
Yeah, well, I
Who
was just
knows?
thinking about that time. I was just more thinking of like, 2011. What was going on with Iwabo at that time? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends that were trying to get into that kind of sound, and I wasn't about it at the time. I was still, like our last episode, I was still way into Silverstein.
Yeah,
That kind of sound, that was what I was into at the time.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to the original episode, you'll hear me talk about, I wrestled a bear once, just never really did it for me, and I was kind of the same boat where it's like I listened to it and I'm like,
just a lot going on.
My other thing too was
especially
like,
the early stuff with all the sound bits and things.
Yeah, I was always like so, like, I don't want to say careful, but just like very picky about some of the like the female-led bands. I don't know. It's not a deal. It's like I don't like female-led bands. It's a deal. It's like their voice either does it for me or it really doesn't. And there's some girl bands out there that I'm just like, yeah. There's some girl-led bands out there and I'm just like, man, her voice is just, I can't do it. But I don't know. Back then I just didn't really hit well for me. And so going back, listening to it when we did the original episode, I was like slapping myself. Whoa, idiot, man. Come on. This is a great band, or whatever. So Eric, how would you describe I Wrestled a Bear Once to a brand new listener?
If I didn't use the partycore moniker that y'all gave them, I would say, in very plain terms, I guess, female-led metalcore with some deathcore tendencies.
Okay.
Those off-key guitar chords that they do, the breakdowns, and just kind of the energy they lean into, makes me kind of think of that death metal kind of feel a little bit. Okay. And some of the vocals kind of push it over the edge a little bit too.
She gets pretty crazy with
both of them do. Really,
both of them do. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, especially with Courtney
in the last.
Woo! Some of those sound like a dude's. Her lows, man. I mean, they're sick. That's some good stuff. But yeah, I just thought of one. How about Soundbite Core for the early
stuff? Yes. Very much.
Oh man, yeah. Do. Okay, so I talked a little bit about my feelings, but how do you feel about female unclean vocals? Specifically, unclean vocals.
When I was a younger lad.
Oh boy, here we go. Buckle up, folks. So
first unclean vocalist or unclean lady vocalist I can remember hearing was Flyleaf.
That's the first one.
I'm So Sick.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that video, hearing that for the first time. I was like, "Holy cow, that's amazing!" But that's about where I drew my line of time.
Yeah.
And I, kind of like I said, I was in that post-hardcore feeling for a long time there. Iwabo was definitely different. It was definitely weird to me, like we were talking a little bit earlier. There's just a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And when you have crappy headphones to begin with, you're just starting to sound like noise. So nowadays I'm all about it, though. Like, again, bands like we will talk about in our next episode, Spirit Box, The Anchor, Red-Handed Denial, and that's a Lauren Babbitt project. And pretty much any of her side projects are good.
Lauren Babbitt. What's she in?
She's in Red Handed Denial. She has a side project. I think it's called 86 or something like that.
Why does that name sound familiar, though?
She's got another... She does kind of a solo thing with a couple guitarists occasionally.
Babbitt?
Babbitt, with a C at the end.
Maybe I just heard that name from you before.
Very possible.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
It's one, I like her side projects and all the stuff. She does a lot of cover stuff.
Okay. Cool.
So if you want to listen to Britney Spears' Toxic, except for without Britney Spears, she's your gal. It's actually a really cool cover, I'm not going to lie.
Okay, cool. We've already talked a little bit about, genre-wise, but, Josh described them at times as sounding operacore, which apparently is a real genre. I don't know if you knew that or not.
That's news to me.
Yeah. And then we both placed them, in the partycore genre as well. Yeah, you've already kind of given us, a couple other genre names or whatever, but just in terms of like those two, give us your thoughts on that and where they fit.
Operacore does go pretty well for the first half. The discography with Krista, her cleans definitely feel operatic at times.
Not so much for Courtney though, right?
Not as much, no.
It kind of tones down a little bit.
Yeah.
In terms of like opera,
yeah, her voice is a little more, I guess, traditional, full-bodied kind of voice.
That's what I was looking for, yeah.
I will say partycore, again, more early on. We got all the sound bites. You got all that whatnot and who's it's and what's it's going on back there. A more modern partycore band, I was kind of trying to think of a modern one, would be Electric Callboy. I don't know if you've heard of them. At one point in their past, they were called Eskimo Callboy.
Okay.
But they changed their name to Electric Callboy.
Wonder why they changed it.
Evidently, somebody that was an Inuit got upset or something. I don't understand.
Yeah, boy.
But anyway, so Electric Callboy, they are party music.
Okay.
Primarily. I mean, look up a couple of their videos. They're quite interesting. Yeah, anyway, they're modern partycore to me anyway. And kind of like them, I don't tend to seek them out, kind of like the early stuff. But if somebody puts it on at a gathering or whatever, it's got that energy.
Okay. At a get together.
Yes, a gathering of souls.
With wine. No. I just picture like this like really chilled out like fancy party and hey, I want to put the I Wrestled a Bear Once on. Is anybody, against that? No, we're good. Play it, man.
And then comes on Gift of Death.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut out my...
So, this is a little bit off from our notes here, but it made me think. So, are you for or are you against the sound bites? Or are you just, you don't really care?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite soundbite that they did?
I think... let's see. They did a Mario one, I believe.
Yeah.
With some of the really early stuff. That was like...
I think that was off their EP.
I think so. And then they also did one, I think it was that same EP, had it wasn't exactly a soundbite, but they did a bit with... on the guitar, it was actually like the intro to... Let's see. Inspector Gadget.
Oh, yeah.
Da, 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 da. And I'm about it. I like that one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I always think of the Dukes of Hazzard one. As I told Josh, I said every time I listen
when
to
it
that,
starts,
it always sounds like it's the end of the song, and then it just comes right in. Boom!
It hits so heavy right after that.
Yeah.
I guess the way to put it is I got to be in the right mood for sound clips.
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, so Eric, here's my first trivia question to you, buddy. You ready?
I am well unprepared.
Alrighty, perfect. It's the way I like it. All right, here's your question. What was the name of guitarist Stephen Bradley and vocalist Krista Cameron's previous band before starting I Wrestled a Bear Once, otherwise known as Iwabo?
I know you said this on the original podcast.
We did. I'll give
And
you
unlike me, you guys should go listen to that because I haven't listened to it in months now.
He didn't listen to it, man. He didn't do
I
his
didn't go back
homework.
and listen.
I'll give you a hint. It's kind of like they spelled it just like they did I Wrestled a Bear Once, where all the It's 3 words, and they're all crammed together.
So it's not I wrestled a goat once.
No,
Okay.
no.
Let's
There's
see.
nothing about wrestling.
Shucks, that's the fun of it.
Oh, man. 3 words. 3 words turned into 1.
It's the Big Goat Band.
Ooh, so close, so close. No, the answer was Statues Cry Bleeding. Does that sound familiar?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay. Oh, man.
So close, so very,
I knew
very far
it.
away.
Ah. You could at
Horseshoes,
least fake it and be like,
hand
oh, that was the next answer. Oh, man. Okay, so we got, we're talking about opera core, party core, a bunch of craziness. Like Eric said, there's a lot going on. You got sound bites, female vocalists sounding like men with their unclean vocals. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, and we're here for it. We haven't even talked about the song title names yet, Eric, and that's where I feel like it gets even crazier. Now, as you go along, you get to at least the last album.
And about half of Late for Nothing
Yeah,
as well.
half of Late for Nothing. You start kind of, okay, we're growing up. We're gonna give some real names now. But for the first half of their discography, you got some crazy song title names, and I want to talk about some of them and just your thoughts on them overall, and naming songs like this. But I just wanted to give you a few here as an example. You got Ulrich Firelord, Breaker of Mountains. One of my favorite, Vlork, Mighty Wielder of Sheep.
Yarg.
Okay, Yarg, yeah. Tastes like Kevin Bacon. Pazuzu for the win. Deodorant, Cannot Fix Ugly. My other favorite, Karate Nipples. What does that even mean, man?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I probably don't, man. I probably don't. Sometimes I wonder, if I look some of this stuff up on Urban Dictionary, what's it going to say?
That's a good question.
Yeah. You also have Thunder Chunky and Fire Bees, among other song names. Do you have like a favorite song title name out of
the titles, I really enjoy Karate Nipples.
Karate Nipples?
It's so off the wall. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's just like, what in the world, man?
The Fire Lord also is pretty good. Not to mention, actually, a pretty good song.
Yeah, that's a good one. One of my favorite songs that they did, at least in the Krista era, is Deodorant Can't Fix Ugly. That's one of my favorite ones. And then, yeah, what the... Well, it's not Karate Nipples, but it's something else, and it's on Urban Dictionary. Oh, man. Okay. That's
Things
funny.
that make you go, buh.
Yeah. No, I mean, this one's not like, ooh, ew, but it's funny. Are you down for stuff like this, or do you want more of a serious song title name?
It works for them.
Yeah.
Especially,
at least for the time being.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, in the early stuff especially, I think it works for them. It works for other bands like Devil Wears Prada throughout a chunk of their discography.
Yeah.
Since y'all were talking about them recently here in the Pop Pop podcast, I'm just going to keep plugging this one.
What the pop pop?
And
Pop up?
that one got me thinking. I was like, they got some strange ones with Devil Wears Prada too. I Hate Buffering and
I hate buffering.
stuff like that.
One of my favorite Des Moines.
Yeah, what in the world are we talking about?
Yeah. Danger Wild Man and Boat on a Goat. Or Goat on a Boat. That's what
Yeah.
Boat on a Goat. That poor goat. He's being crushed by that boat. No. Yeah, there's a lot of strange ones for them. And they kind of go through the same thing where it's like they get to, Zombie EV and Dead Throne. And it's like, okay, we're going to grow up here and we're going to get some serious names going, which, it is what it is. When you're starting out, I mean, you have that freedom really. I mean, you got the freedom later on, but you have that, freedom just kind of do whatever you want and get people to talk about you like we're doing right now, How about that Karate Nipples, man? Have you heard this song, Karate Nipples? Karate Nipples? What the heck is that?
And it's not like a song that anybody else has out there.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
the weird stuff, who was it? At the Fall of Troy. FC premix or FCP
gosh, yeah.
remix or however you want to call that
Right.
one. Like that weird stuff, it gets you talking about not just the name, but the song and the band. And now we're putting it into Google. Now we're putting it into Spotify or whatever we're listening to it on. And here we go.
There's been times where like I hear a song and it's just like I can't even think of like a name. Like let's just say the name of the song is called Water Bottle. Simple, plain, right? But like everybody's, not everybody, but like there's like maybe 3 bands that have the same song title.
I was thinking about those, and one of them's Lady.
Okay, yeah, Lady, that's a good one.
Off the top of my head, you got Kenny Rogers, you got Styx, and then you got John Denver. Just off the top of my head for Lady. All of those, literally the song name's Lady. And they all say, Lady, are you whatever? You know, every one of them's just another version of the same song.
This one's for you, Josh. Lady, when you're with me, I'm smiling. Yeah, classic Styx, man. Oh yeah. But yeah, there's a couple of times where I'm like water, like I say, Water Bottle, and I see a band, a different band comes
covered
out.
one called Coffee Mug.
Yeah, I see a different band that I'm like, I don't know that one. They've got a new song called Water Bottle. I'm like, is that a cover song of a band that I like, or did it? And it's like, no, this is not.
Well, one
Come on,
here
people.
recently I was looking through Spotify's worldwide big listings because they just released those here not very long
What's
ago.
that?
Like their top listened songs throughout the entire year.
Oh wow, throughout
And-
the world.
Right, world
Wow.
over. And
What was number one?
I don't remember, but one of them that made the world list and the United States list was "Cruel Summer" by Taylor Swift.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Is that a cover?" I don't know if it's familiar to you or not, but
The name sounds kind of familiar.
Bananarama did that back in the '80s,
Oh, okay.
and it's in a lot of movies and stuff like that. I mean, I thought it was a straight up cover. I didn't go listen to the song to find out, but
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if she somehow ripped it, but you know. So.
hey, you know,
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
create drama.
Hey, and by the way, that's Person of the Year, Taylor Swift, to you, so.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
My apologies.
Dumb. We're moving on. Moving on. So we've already talked a little bit about sound clips. Sound clips galore.
Lots.
You know, to me, it seemed like in this. So, I Wrestled a Bear Once, at least their first 2 albums. I think that was it 07 to like 9, maybe? Something like that? Maybe? I can't remember. But let's see. Okay, It's All Happening was 2009. Oh, Hail Mary didn't come out until 2015.
Ooh.
Okay, so that you would have had to have heard the first 2 then when
No.
you first yeah, because ruining it for everybody came out in 2011.
I was still hearing Krista back then.
Yeah, there you go. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so I feel like kind of like in that era, at least in the first album, you know, It's All Happening in their EP also. There was kind of like a big trend at that time of, like the sound clips. Everybody wanted to do that. You got to put a sound clip in your song. You got to put a sound clip in your song, man. I can remember doing that too. It's like being in high school and starting bands. You're like, oh, that'd be a good sound clip for a song. I'm gonna save that. I have no clue how it's gonna tie into the song, but it sounds awesome, and I'm gonna put it in there. You know, me and Josh reference the band Kill Whitney Dead a lot. Have you ever heard them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, just like unnecessary amounts of sound clips and songs. I think he said there was like 3 sound clips in one song, either just like all mashed together at the same time or maybe spread out. I can't remember, but I mean, just like it's too much, man. It's too much, you know. So, but yeah, we've already talked. I think we've talked enough about the sound clips already, so we'll move on.
Well, one note on that is
Yeah, go for
nowadays, back then, that was a little bit earlier on. Like I said, sound clips everywhere.
Almost kind of watered down.
Right. Nowadays, I feel like they kind of are sewn into the music a little bit better.
Yeah,
They're not
that's
just dropped on top of it. Like there was a song I was listening to on the way here. Yep, I lost it. But anyway,
Oops.
whatever the name of the song is, it actually had a sound clip from, is it Neil Armstrong? One small step for
man,
man, one giant step
giant
for
leap.
mankind.
Yeah.
And I mean, seamless in that song. I was like, wow, that's, sound clip really done right. It just felt really right. And then like I said, some of the early Iwabo ones and this era in general, it's just like, dude, cool sound clip. Boop.
Yeah.
So
I think the other thing too that helps is production's so much better now with
absolutely
the tools that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is nice to like hear it really like embedded in the song, production wise and such. I mean, like sometimes you'll put kind of like a filter on it. It almost sounds like it's first thing that comes to mind is like almost like a phone call, type sounding, So yeah, it really like instead of just like you said,
Yeah,
just sitting on top of the song.
I still hear lots of phone call style ones right now.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. There's different trends going on right now for sure.
Yeah. Kingdom of Giants has one at the end of one of theirs that I've been hearing that one a lot. Of course, there's all kinds like that, but
right, yeah. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot now. Oh, I was going to say Eric's here to put the history of the chorus as he talks about Neil Armstrong.
We're going back today.
We're going back, man. All right, so their first full-length album, It's All Happening. It's all happening. Oh my gosh, it's all happening. They decided why, I don't know. I don't know if they were approached about this or what. Decided to do a remix album, right? So here's our songs. Have at it. Remix them how you want. And then they said, that's not enough. Let's do a dubstep album too, or an EP basically. Here's some more songs. Take them, do with them what you want. I don't know. Are you a fan of a remix album at all?
Typically, no.
Okay. Is there? You almost made me kind of sound like you left the door open a little bit there, though.
There always could be a new one that I like.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying, but
I'll leave the door open.
This, or I like that. Maybe a song here and there.
So back in the day, this wasn't a whole album or anything, but Silverstein did a Rumpin' remix. I think that's literally what they called it, of Smile in Your Sleep.
Yeah,
kind
18 Candles.
Yeah, kind of a dubstep-y, electronic feeling thing.
Oh, his voice was electronic.
Oh, 100%. And when it came out, when it hit, I was like, dude, this is like the coolest thing. But, that was like 08 or 09 when it came out, or whenever I found it anyway. And it pretty quickly wore off, though. As far as it was the cool factor. And
right.
It was a flash in the pan, and the cool wore off. And now, if I'm listening to 18 Candles, that's pretty well a skip for me.
Good thing it's the last song on the album, and you're like, all right, let's just start the album over then.
Let's just do something else.
Or what's the next album coming up? Yeah. I'm sure I've mentioned this on the last episode that we did and in the original episodes too, but the first time I ever heard that song, I just busted out laughing because it's just hilarious. Because he just like, it comes in, you're kind of like, okay, this is interesting. And then he comes in with that, you smile and you're sleeping. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? What have you done? No.
Look what you've done to my boy.
My boy. What have you done to my boy? Dubstep fan at all?
Not hugely.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not our cup
It doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. All right, do me a favor then, Eric. Rate these remixers' names for me. You got Alien Vampire. You got Dada Yakuza. You got Big Chocolate, Sluggo, and Itchy Robot.
All right. We'll do like I like to do, go from backwards to forwards. Number 5.
Oh, is there 5 or 6? There's 6 here.
Oh, is there 6?
Yeah. Do you want to do 5 or 6?
Well, apparently I forgot one, so we'll do 5.
Okay.
Number 5. We'll go with Sluggo.
Okay. We're just going to find out who did make the cut.
Yeah. Sluggo's pretty meh.
Okay.
Just
meh.
Not super whatever.
Yeah.
4 and 3 I kind of lumped into one.
Number 4 and 3
is Big Chocolate and Daddy Yakuza.
It's a tie.
Guys who call themselves Dada or Big something.
Dada.
Why don't you just call yourself Big Papa? It's pretty cringy. Either way.
Big Papa Yakuza.
Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like a mouthful, though, man.
Then number 2.
Number 2.
Alien Vampire.
Ooh.
Kind of like it.
You know what that name makes me think of? A band name generator site. That, to me, when I look at Alien Vampire, I think that guy went straight on the interweb and went to the first generator website he could and say, give me a band. I need a name real quick. I'm doing a set, here in just like 5 minutes. Give me a name. What do I introduce myself as? And the website said, doo alien vampire. And he's like, done, whatever. There may be some drugs involved. I don't know. He may have been drunk. I don't know, man.
Out of the ones here, that's actually pretty good, considering.
Okay.
And then number 1 for me.
Number 1
is Itchy Robot.
Nice.
I do like that one, actually.
It's a good one. It's like, what? So who didn't make the cut?
We got Sluggo, Big Chocolate, Daddy Yakuza, Alien Vampire, and Itchy Robot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How am I missing? I don't know. Anyway. What am I trying to do live on the air? Alrighty. That's Eric's top whatever of remixer names from the list.
Goofiest remixer names we could find.
Goofiest, man. The goofiest. All right. Speaking of remix albums and such, the band I Wrestled a Bear Once did this thing where I think it was off of It's All Happening. I think it was It's All Happening. It was either that one or the next one. I think it was It's All Happening. But they allowed their fans to create their own remixes. So basically, kind of like what they did with these remixers, Alien Vampire, Big Chocolate, blah, blah, blah. They said, hey, here's our songs. Go make your best remix out of it. They came to their fans and said, hey, go make your best remixes out of it. We want to hear them. The other thing I always think of too, let me back up before I say that second part of the question. What are your thoughts on the band allowing fans to do that? I mean, it's nice little chemistry, right? I mean,
right.
Kind of get closer to your fans, maybe bring them in, not just like, hey, go buy our CD, right?
Right, kind of reaching through the computer screen nowadays and
exactly
shaking hands with the fans.
Exactly, yeah.
We've said it in past episodes. Everybody's got a gimmick.
True.
And I think it's a pretty good gimmick, actually.
Yeah.
As far as, like I said, it gets fans interacting.
Yeah.
It is kind of that, it makes it feel more like you're involved with their band, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm not going to go out and look for any of this music.
Right.
And typically they're not going to, even if, like the Under Oath one y'all just talked about here recently too. I'm not going to go look that one up.
It would be kind of interesting, though. I wonder where I could find that, though. There'd probably be a lot of like, I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad you're not Under Oath.
Right.
Yeah. I always think of Strawberry Girls. If you go on their Bandcamp website, they've got like an album of, and I think it's just more like drum samples, and they're like 2 to 5 seconds long, maybe. It just kind of depends. And you can buy the album, and then they let you, go do whatever you want with those. Make remixes, whatever. Make your own music with them or whatever.
In a world where samples are king for drums, that's a pretty big deal because their drummer's fantastic.
Oh, terrific, man. Terrific. And then you get that live drum sound, too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, perfect, man.
Here we go off on our tangent of post-rock again.
Oh, boy. I mean, we got to bring it up, right?
At least once.
Every episode. At least one time, man. The other thing, too, with like allowing fans to do that, it's like you're allowing your fans to get creative, show their artsy side, creative side, whatever. And who knows, you may inspire somebody to pursue a career as a mixer or whatever. Or, you don't know. Never know what's going to happen, man. So I think nothing but positive things can come out of it. Yeah, there may be some bad remixes out of there, but I mean,
like I said, I personally think it's more
art
or less,
is in the beauty of the beholder, right? Type thing. So
more or less, it's a kind of gimmick,
right?
And I think it's a pretty good one. It's getting your fans involved. I like it.
I agree. All right, Eric. Didn't do so hot in that first trivia question.
We're ice cold.
Let's see how you do on the second one. Can he go 50%? Or will he go a big fat 0% on this episode?
Feeling more like that at the moment.
Oh, come on. You got to have some confidence in yourself, buddy.
I am confident that I have no confidence.
Oh, man. What a contradiction. All right, here's your question. Where does the name I Wrestled a Bear Once, otherwise known as Iwabo, come from?
See, if it was nowadays, I can't even remember the name of the band, but the guy, Alex the Terrible, in one of his music videos,
man.
literally wrestled a bear.
Literally took that name, yeah.
Yeah. If it was nowadays, I'd say it was something like that. But I was trying to remember, golly, it was some like news story or something they heard. I can't remember exactly now.
It would probably be like in an interview. You want to venture a guess? And I'll tell you what it is. You're kind of on the right track, kind of.
Like I said, I can't exactly remember now. Just give it to me.
So it's a quote from Gary Busey.
Oh, okay.
Now,
give me 25% on that one. I'm okay with that.
So, I'm going to give you -% You're going to owe me now. I'm no expert here, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that this was a quote from Gary Busey post motorcycle accident. Because his quote was, I wrestled a bear once. So I'm going to guess that was when his brains were a little scrambled.
A little different up there.
A little different, maybe.
Yeah.
A little mush.
Wire got crossed or two.
Something, man.
Yeah.
I always think of I think it's a Family Guy where, I don't remember what they say. It's like a cut scene, and it's like he's looking at himself you know what I'm talking about?
I've got a few running through my head.
He's looking at himself in the mirror. He's talking to himself. He's like, I don't remember exactly what he says. Something about, how you feeling in there, Gary Busey? And it's just his reflection. He's like, I'm doing great, man. Oh boy. Alrighty, Eric. Let's talk about the two vocalists that
Are you going to make me pick a favorite?
I mean, if you want, you
Okay.
can. I don't think I'm gonna. I might.
Put the gun to my head.
Now I'm tempted.
Nail my feet to the floor.
Describe for me, or a brand new listener, or listeners that know what they're talking about, the differences or similarities between Krista and Courtney's vocal styles. We did touch a little bit on it already in terms of like the opera core deal, but give me a little more.
So I would say
I only had an appetizer. Give me the full course.
Here's the full course. 3 courses, well, at least 2 here. Uncleans of both ladies are overall pretty similar. Mm-hmm. I do think Courtney gets a little lower, digs a little deeper for that side of things, but I would put either one of them up against any industry-leading vocalist right now.
I agree.
And probably better in many cases.
Woo, shots fired.
Like, they are both really fantastic, heavy vocalists.
Now, I'm going to stop you real quick. I know you're not a fan of the cupping. And Courtney does that, at least on Late for Nothing. She may do it a little bit on Hail Mary, but more on Late for Nothing.
She kind of moved more away from it, seems.
So it almost makes me wonder if she was just experimenting, maybe. Kind of like, I think that's what Corey was doing on Oh God, The Aftermath.
Right.
Got my
I will say, after listening to it more and more, I've grown more okay with the cupping. I don't know. Because going into this, first time I heard it, I was like, man, I just don't like that cupping sound.
Is there something specific about it, though, that just like, I don't like it, or is it just
overall? When you're recording, it's going from taking the whole room, the echo, the body of the voice, and channeling it down into this little thing right here.
Oh, careful there.
And, that's exactly it, though, is trying to get it all down into that one little spot.
If I would have known he was going to do that, I would have warned you people, but oh well, you probably can't hear me now because your eardrums are busted.
You're welcome. So anyway, that's it right there. Is I think because what you do for recording vocals is you do have to, sometimes you have to set the room size in the whatever software you're using, stuff like that. Old school, you would set up, dampeners in certain areas and corners and pads and things like that. So that you don't get weird echoes, but you do get echoes because you want a certain amount in it. You just don't want it to sound like you're in a tin can.
Right.
And the more cupping you do, the closer tin can sound you get.
Yeah.
Or I think you described it as screaming down a hallway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So something like that.
It's an interesting sound.
Yeah. And like I said, the more I listen to it, the more okay I am with it. Just going into this, the very first time y'all brought up Iwabo, I was like, there's something about that doesn't do it for me.
Sometimes I almost think it's like, I don't want to say like you're cheating, but it feels like you're like, I don't know, because I almost feel like cupping like makes your voice sound more. I don't know. It's so hard to explain what I'm trying to think right now, but I don't know. I had another thought I was going to go with that too, but I don't remember now. But anyway,
words and thoughts and things.
Go back to what your original question we were talking about before I stopped you there.
So let's see. Going back to cleans. So part 2 here. Krista's cleans, we kind of talked about it a little bit, sound a little bit opera-y at times. As far as what it reminds me of, like vaguely old school Evanescence.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of her voice was very, almost operatic at times in that old school type stuff. Now that being said, I know they make new music and I haven't listened to it since like 2008. Sorry, guys.
I'm not sorry.
But anyway, I mean, that was like,
Were you a big Evanescence fan?
Everybody around me was.
Okay. I only knew like the one or two, big hits.
And that was about it for me. I was like,
I just never really
it's okay. But yeah, I just wasn't my favorite.
Wake me up.
Yeah.
Save me.
I mean, it's not like it was real bad. It's just not something I felt the need to jump into a whole album worth of.
If that song came on the radio back in the day, I'd sing along with it.
Oh, heck yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, I was just never like, I'm not seeking this band out any more than that. Oh, what's the next song on the radio?
Right, exactly. So Courtney has a very full voice. Cleans are probably the biggest reason why I'd pick the second half of the discography as my favorite as a whole.
Okay.
Just because I do like her voice. Her clean voice is really good. I enjoy it a lot. As a side note, I'm definitely not putting Krista in a bad column or anything. Really good voice and everything. But in a direct comparison, I like Courtney a little bit better.
I think me and Josh both said this, that we wondered if Krista was a big contribution to like the party core and like the sound clips and stuff like that, because it seemed like once you get to Late for Nothing, the song names are still kind of there, but they're trailing off, and there's not really any sound clips, if any at all, in Late for Nothing. I don't think there is.
They're fewer and far between.
Yeah, so it feels like that maybe Krista was a big part of that. And it's not saying anything bad about that.
And I mean the rest of the band is growing too.
Right. And that's the other thing too. You're getting into your third, fourth album. So
you go from that 16-year-old mindset to your 25-year-old mindset, or, whatever age they're at,
right.
You're growing up a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I put in my notes, Courtney's unclean sound. Courtney's unclean vocal sounds brutal and hot. Oh man. So anything else on that, or was that you hit the end, didn't you?
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for there.
Cool. So how about we talked a little bit about Late for Nothing. Can you tell me what's going on with the artwork there? What kind of a mask is that? Me and Josh had to talk about that. It's like, is that a dog mask? What the heck? It's some type of animal, it looks like.
Best I could tell, it looks like a little doggy, Shih Tzu.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely interesting. They actually, on their the EP right before that, it has the same like lady in a business suit dress thing with that dog head face making copies or something.
I didn't know they had an EP before that.
It was like a single,
I
think.
A single, maybe? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but they made the artwork for it, and it kind of corresponds with
I haven't
it.
seen that one, huh?
I just happened upon it on Spooderfy.
Spooderfy. That's funny. It looks like to me like, here's your picture of the lady, chasing after the car or whatever, and then like somebody took like a magazine, found a picture of a dog, cut out the magazine of the head, and then just like plastered on, like weird kind of like collage type.
Right.
Yeah,
and that fits with their early stuff too, as far as the brighter color themes.
Right.
Still, you're not too serious about it. You're having fun still.
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely a transition album to what
quite a bit
Hail Mary gets to, and so on and so forth. So, speaking of Hail Mary,
And transitions.
And transitions. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Does Hail Mary feel like a transition to the beginning of Spirit Box for you?
As a whole, yes.
Okay.
From a little bit darker art, you
Yeah.
know, going from colors to basically black and gray, to the more serious sound of the music, a little bit darker lyrics overall, almost lends itself to like horrorcore at times.
Really? Okay. Okay.
I mean, getting into, just some really darker stuff comparatively. Much heavier than anything that Spirit Box has done as a whole, though, too.
Yeah, that's true. Which is, and that's the interesting part. It's like, it feels like it's transitioning into Spirit Box, but then
Then you listen to that first EP they put out.
Oh, it feels like we kind of went down.
But then, yeah, she goes way soft on those first,
Yeah.
I don't know, out of that first EP, like the first 3 or 4 songs, super soft.
Which is crazy
Then
because
it's funny because then you hit aphids on that album,
yeah.
and it's harder than any of this.
Well, and I was about to say, it feels like, to me, you got Late for Nothing, and then you bump it up on Hail Mary, and you're like, okay, it's transitioning into Spirit Box, and it kind of goes down a little bit, but then I feel like, if you just look at Spirit Box, and we'll talk about it in the next episode, I feel like they went further down from where Hail Mary was throughout there. Yeah, I was just like, okay. I mean, we'll talk about it in the next episode, but
stay tuned.
now, 2023, with what they've got, I mean, it's like, you're lucky if you get a scream here and there, it feels
Right.
like. I think the other thing, too, with like Hail Mary.
You say
and
2013 or?
23.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
No, I said 23.
Okay.
I think. I hope. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
We're gaslighting you here.
Yeah, I feel like with Hail Mary and the transition, to the beginning of Spirit Box, it helps that Courtney has more input on Hail Mary than she did on Late for Nothing. She's talked about that. Hail Mary is the only album to feature future Spirit Box guitarist, her husband, Mike Stringer.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's contribution there.
And his guitar style definitely leads to that darker
exactly.
feel.
There's a lot of, connections there. So I think we can all agree with that.
Roughly drop Z flat, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Soon to be, we're running out of letters in the alphabet. It's soon going to be like numbers and symbols. And then next thing you know, it's going to be, I'm in Batman sharp.
Right.
So crazy stuff like that. Alrighty, Eric, let's wrap up this episode here. As always, I like to finish with the question of you giving me some of your favorite albums, songs, lyrics, riffs, artworks. Go for it, buddy. The floor is yours.
So artworks, I like the early stuff. It's pretty cool. It's a collage of boom, explosion of
Very
mess.
colorful, too.
Yeah, it's very colorful. For the sound that they're actually making, it's really funny that it is such a bright, colorful thing.
Right.
I like the contrast.
Makes you feel good.
It kind of does. It gets you started. And you're like, hey.
It's a psychological thing. It
far as-
probably is, to be honest.
Honestly,
man.
I could see that in going into Hail Mary with such a dark album cover.
Like, oh, darkness.
And now we're into the darkness.
I live in the shadows.
I will say, as far as my favorite album is Late for Nothing. And
It's a good one.
it feels like a sweet spot for them, at least for me.
And she comes in so nice, too, on Thunder Chunky.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great way to introduce
That's a good way to start. And also, that's a good place to start if you're new to this band, too, in my opinion.
Think so? Okay.
It's a good middle ground.
well,
it's not
and-
ultra heavy. It's not super dark. It's
Well-
not like your hardcore partycore.
Right, and I
know.
was about to say, that's the other thing, too, and we talked about it. It's like there's two sides of the coin here for I Wrestle the Bear Once. It's like, if you're into that partycore type thing, it's like, then go start it. It's all happening. Or in the EP. If you're not really into that, then yeah, probably want to look more towards.
If you're into normal metalcore, that kind of thing.
You're into Spirit Box.
If you like Spirit Box even, this is actually a pretty good place to start.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I put, okay, yeah, never mind, go ahead.
So going into some lyrics.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think this one, oh, there it is.
I like
It-
meanings.
This one
Like
is
words.
from I'd Buy That for $1.
Ooh.
You look so sweet, filled with deceit. You catch me armed to the teeth. I will be the last one standing. You look so cheap with the price you're demanding. I refuse to be that weak.
Look so good. Kind
Kind of a little sing along.
It's a good, I mean, it's catchy, It's very catchy. That's one thing that I found off of Late for Nothing was there's a lot of like catchy stuff that got like stuck in my head, and I'm like, oh man, that's good. That's good.
So then this one's going to be from Gift of Death off
Okay.
of Hail Mary. Cut out my wicked eyes. Cut out my wicked eyes. That the music under that and the way that sounds like a little kid saying all that, it's just so creepy, and I really enjoy it. I don't know why, it just hits me. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Freak.
And it's that horrorcore thing, I think, and I don't listen to much of it, but that one
you
caught
into
me.
horrorcore?
I'm really not,
Okay.
but that one caught me.
Okay.
The music under this, actually, as a side note, sounds a lot like there's a clip from Black Eyed Bush, kind of towards the end of that. It's kind of a instrumental-ish song. There's a sound that they're making, kind of guitar-y type sound. Kind of sounds like that. Da-da-da, da-da-da. And it's repetitive, and it says, kind of does it over and over.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I remember what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So I don't know if, as it's saying,
Yep.
cutting out my wicked eyes, Black Eyed Bush, way back here in the back.
I don't.
Are we cutting out the eyes of the Black Eyed Bush? Are they wicked? I don't know. But anyway, I didn't know if that was
They're looking at me.
I didn't know if that was like a callback to that early album or not, but
Yeah. No, that's interesting. But
Anyway.
that's nice too when you do stuff like that.
I caught that and I was like,
do I need to
that's
do it?
really similar.
Do I need to bring in a sleeper again, man, where we
We
connect
need
the
to.
whole discography? I'm going to tell you something, people. If you never listened to the History of the Chorus After Hours podcast, let me tell you 3 things that are going to be mentioned without like hesitation. 1, post-rock bands, because that's what me and Eric like. 2, I always usually make a reference to Norma Jean's Oh God, The Aftermath. And 3, somehow, some way, Oh Sleeper and its connected discography always gets thrown back in. So,
And if we miss one of those, we can substitute in a reference for Maylene and Sons of Disaster.
that's nice.
Because we do that about
or
every
we can
time.
always say, I don't know, I didn't listen to this band back in the day because I was so stuck on Silverstein.
That's
I'm
gonna
guilty
be
of that too.
That's
sometimes,
a pretty
man.
common one.
Yeah, so cool.
So
Hey,
songs,
yeah.
we've got. I'll give you my special mentions here first.
Yeah, go for it.
Letters to Stallone.
Okay.
I kind of enjoy the sing-alongish
Yeah.
feel to that one. Thunder Chunky. You just said it. It is a fantastic way to start off an album. Hits so good. So, then let's jump into number 3.
Oh, number 3. Okay.
Number
3. I almost said number 5.
I start out with Mind the Gap on number 3.
Okay. Better mind the gap. Nice.
And that one's, of course, off of Late for Nothing.
Okay.
And number 2,
Number 2.
we're up the creek because we got a boat paddle.
Nice.
Boat paddle's pretty good. And again, it comes off of Late for Nothing. And then number 1.
Number 1.
So this is really off the wall, but I really like Gift of Death.
Okay.
That
You're
creepy
stuck with those
sound.
wicked eyes, aren't you?
It really is such a cool sound. I don't know why it comes on. Like I said, I'll play like say like Spirit Box's album, or I'll play one of these albums, and afterwards, a lot of times, Gift of Death will come on afterwards as kind of the mix, and I like it quite a bit. It plays a lot. It plays good for me. Maybe I should start looking into the creepy,
Maybe I think
the creepy
he's-
core.
We've discovered a new side of Eric today.
Maybe so. I don't know.
We've dug deep. This therapy session is brought to you by. Oh man. Cool. Did you run through all of them?
That's number 1. Yep, we're good.
Did you say anything about what about artwork? You got any artwork?
Yeah, we talked about the early stuff.
We
is what
talked
I
about.
like.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did. Say
Not a
that. Okay.
specific one. The first 2
I'm
are
trying
pretty
to remember,
similar.
Yeah. Trying to keep it in order. We did this. And then Late for Nothing was your favorite, right? And that's your starting
Album-wise,
point.
yes.
Yeah. Album.
I think it is a good starting point. It's
Yeah.
if
Well,
you like
we talked about
metalcore
it,
in
yeah.
general, that's a good place.
Okay. Cool, man. Cool. Alrighty. Well, that is I Wrestled a Bear Once. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now, people, because this episode and the next one are connected. You'll see. Because the next episode, we're going to talk about Spirit Box. And I'm going to give you my plea on that episode, and I'm going to give you my plea right now. Listen to I Wrestled a Bear Once. If you're coming here because, oh, I like Courtney LaPlante and Spirit Box, it's like, okay, she was in this band for 2 full albums, and they were great albums. And I Wrestled a Bear Once was a great band, because they're no longer together, was a great band. So it's like, I'm not saying, well, if you like Spirit Box, you're going to like this one. I'm not saying that because, kind of like what we discussed, like there's, even in I Wrestled a Bear Once, there's two sides of that coin, man. And
well, you got to remember too, she's still pretty young comparatively here.
yes, exactly.
And she grows a lot moving into Spirit Box.
Right. And we'll talk about,
Absolutely.
some of the things she does in that in the next episode too. But please, I'm begging you, go listen to I Wrestled a Bear Once, because this is a band that is just so underappreciated. Would you agree with that, Eric?
Actually, yes. And coming from a guy who did not like them coming into this.
Yeah. So, look.
I left them on red, back in 2011,
Right.
2012.
Yeah.
And I just, didn't
ghosted
go back.
them, man.
I ghosted them. And I didn't come back to them until, the podcast. And I
Yeah.
came up and I was like, okay, we'll give them a shot.
Same for me, man. And it's like I said, I hated myself for not liking.
And
them
like I
back in
said,
the day.
coming in with the Late for Nothing album, really found me an album that's going to be on pretty constant rotation. I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, of course, I'm going to have to listen to Gift of Death a lot. But
Gift of Death.
Anyway.
Check out those wicked eyes, man. Cut them out. Alrighty, let's get on out of here, Eric. Woo! Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, people, but our other shows as well. We have the, what'd you call it? The Pop Pop podcast.
Daddy-O.
The Daddy-O. The Daddy Yakuza of podcasts. The History of the Chorus podcast.
the Big Papa.
The Big Papa Bump. That's where me and Josh sit down and go more through the history of bands that eventually me and Eric get around to talking about as well. You also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show The Peaky Blinders. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1 of House of the Dragon, soon to be season 2, hopefully this summer. We'll see. We got the trailer. Trailer reaction is out too, so go check that out. Only on YouTube, not on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but just YouTube, because you get to see our faces as we go. Wow, that was a great trailer. Whoa, what's going to happen next? Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. Alrighty, we will see you in the next episode where we talk about the band known as Spirit Box. We'll see you.
So, yeah.